Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Season 11, Episode 27, overall 577 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles and Cadillac vehicles as well. You can call the dealership at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email them at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership is the proud sponsor of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, and Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. I hope everyone is doing well on this. I can't believe it's already Thursday, August 21st, 2025, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. First appearance on our show. We connected through LinkedIn, and we're going to bring her on in 1 minute. Her name is Mary Morgan. She's a voiceover artist and an accomplished singer, and I'm looking forward to speaking to Mary about her voiceover career, which she began back in 2008. Good morning, Mary. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. Thank you.
How's things in your neck of the woods?
Oh, things are going good. I'm starting to book conventions now, so I've got 2 lined up for November. It's something I'm still very new at, so but I also do theme park work. I'm a Halloween person, so for the month of October, I love to work at Six Flags Over Texas doing Halloween-themed stuff.
Are you based out of Texas then?
Yes, I'm based around Dallas, Texas.
Are you a Dallas Cowboys fan by any chance, since you're from Texas?
I'm
Last
not
sports
really.
question.
Yeah, I'm not a sports kind of person. Probably the only sport thing I really might enjoy is mixed martial arts or MMA, because I have a black belt in Krav Maga.
Wow, that's impressive.
hmm
Mary, I was reading your bio too, and you've been into a voiceover artist since 2008. What inspired you to get into the voiceover artist industry?
Well, I had a lot of experience in theater as a kid, and something that when I would go to auditions or when I would book a few things in theater, something I was told many, many times was to consider voiceover. But I had stars in my eyes as a child. I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to be in film. I wanted to be in TV. I thought that voiceover at the time would be limiting. So I ignored that advice for about 17 years. And then after doing traveling, graduating high school, going through a lot of life changes, learning things about myself, in my late 20s, I decided to go ahead and try voiceover. And it picked up quite fast. And I realized that I really had a place in voiceover.
Do you remember your first voiceover job that you did, and did you have any early influences and mentors?
I do. I definitely remember my first voiceover job. There were many influencers and coaches. I've trained with a lot of people, and I will still train today with a lot of people. Um, I think one of my biggest inspirations was Jodie Benson, who is the original voice of Ariel in the Little Mermaid animated film from 1989. Because when I heard her sing, I thought, I want to be like that. I want to have a gorgeous voice like her. She doesn't do a ton of different voices. She has be one signature voice, and that's great. But but to be more able to explore other characters, then you need someone like Tara Strong, who I also greatly admire. She is a vocal chameleon and can do all kinds of things with her voice. So those two were really big inspirations for me. And my first job was a cartoon called Bolopolis, and it was co-created by Keith Alcorn, who also co-created Jimmy Neutron. And I was so brand new into the voiceover world. I just emailed this company with a demo I had just gotten made saying, "Hey, I'm a I'm a voice actor. I'm just looking to connect, and if you have anything that needs a voice, I'd love to audition for you." And they invited me to audition, and I booked the job, and it was my first, character, which was a cartoon, and my actually my first lead as well.
Growing up, I was born in the '70s, so I'm ancient. I grew up with the Flintstones and obviously the Simpsons and stuff like that. In your opinion, Mary, what makes a good voiceover artist, and how much say do they have in adding to that character, adding to it?
You know, voiceover is so vast, and when it comes to voiceover actors, uh, every single job has a story. And it may not be so much that you can change your voice, it just matters that you tell the story and that you get the story across to people. So, there are some people who have a niche with character voices. That's my area. But then there are some people who have who have a strength with audiobooks or have a strength with commercials or promos or medical narration. They may not be able to change their voice, but they have a way of getting the story across. And I grew up in the '80s, so watching those shows, uh, you know, whatever it takes, it's a matter of what area you want to be a part of, because I probably don't have a place in medical narration that involves saying words that are 5 or 6 syllables long, and you also have to make it sound very fluid. Nobody wants to hear a choppy script. Whereas, also in sports promo, you have to have a lot of energy. You have to understand the game. And I'm not a big sports person except for maybe MMA, mixed martial arts. But someone who's passionate about baseball or football, you know, they would make a great sports announcer because they know exactly how the games are played and they're passionate about it, and that will be heard easily as they speak.
As a voiceover artist, and when you do your roles in commercials or cartoon series and stuff like that, how important is doing your homework on the character or the commercial that you're doing?
I'd say it's very, very important. If you have a commercial, you have to look at the script very carefully because there are keywords in there that will stand out and that the client wants also to stand out in the read. If you're selling something, you have to understand that you're selling this to someone who's listening, not a whole audience, but you have to imagine selling it to one person. You have to imagine talking to one person because the read that's very popular right now is called conversational. Well, I wouldn't say, "Hey, you wanna buy this today? It's gonna be a great sale." It would be like, "Hey, you should go out and buy this. It's gonna be a great sale. I think you should take advantage of it." And then with character work, you really have to know, no matter how crazy the story is, because I might be, a little girl trapped in a bottle, and the bottle has a portal to another universe, and that universe is run by unicorns and dragons who are at war. And I have to be able to sound believable, not only as the character, but in whatever the character is wanting, because all characters want something, and that needs to be expressed in a way that, doesn't sound so cheesy because the story might be cheesy, but it's a story, and your job is to make that story come alive.
Mary, as a voiceover artist as well, do you have a vocal coach as well to help you?
I have a singing coach that helps me keep my voice in shape. Now, I sound a little bit lispy because I'm wearing Invisalign right now, but I don't have a lisp. But I have a vocal coach who helps me keep my voice in shape, not only for my voiceover, but also for singing as well. So when it comes to coaches, I will take various workshops. Now, some workshops may last 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Many last maybe 1 day or 2 days. And what often happens is we record what we do in those classes, and I might listen to it, listen to what my reads, go over things I need to fix or work on. And then my ongoing voice coach will help me with keeping my voice in shape because sometimes I have to scream, sometimes I have to yell, sometimes I have to move my voice in a way that sounds uncomfortable to someone's ears, but it doesn't hurt me at all as long as I put it, as I place the voice in a way that doesn't injure my throat or my vocal cords.
And all the time you've been doing voiceover work, have you ever had a situation where you completely lost your voice?
In a job, actually, no. When I was starting out many, many years ago, before I actually got into voiceover properly, I put my trust in one coach for 1 day. 1 day. I was living in Los Angeles at the time because I wanted to see about pursuing film and TV. And I had the internet was not very big yet. So I put my trust in one of the, I think it was the Backstage newspaper because Backstage is used for actors. And so I tried this one guy thinking, okay, I got to keep my voice in shape. And he claimed that he had been on various shows showing a technique that has been proven to be great for singers. And I went to have a lesson with him, and he started telling me, "I want you to shout at the top of your lungs. Do this, do this, do this." And I thought, this can't be right. At the end of the next day, my voice was hoarse, and I knew that whatever he was doing, he was not doing right. But that's also made me very careful about who I trust when it comes to voice lessons.
Drinking, what do you, as a voiceover artist and a singer too, that a lot of tea, water, honey?
Yes, I actually, I sound a little bit hoarse today because it's, still morning and my voice is still adjusting, but I'm still I'm still doing good. But yes, I drink a ton of water, and I don't have my, water bottle in here with me, but it's about this big, like, literally, and I fill it halfway up every day, so I make sure I get at least my 80 to, uh, 90, I don't do math very well, but, 8 or 9 cups can be in there. And I also am an exercise junkie, so I have to drink that water every single day. When my voice is not doing well, or if I get sick, I'm not too fond of this, but it helps me a lot. But what I do is I make about 8 ounces of hot water, and I put half a cup of apple cider vinegar, a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and maybe 2 tablespoons of honey and lemon juice. And I mix it all together and I drink it while it's hot, and it tastes absolutely horrible. In my opinion, it tastes horrible, but it really helps clean out my system, and it really helps uh, get my throat in better shape.
How important is it in your industry to be very flexible and diverse as well?
Again, it will always depend on the genre, but when it comes to character voices, which is what I do, it's not so much important that you are able to change your voice up as much as it is you're able to play different characters and sound convincing playing those characters. I have been to quite a few workshops where people will read a character in one voice, and then they may change up their voice very slightly, but you can still hear it sounds like the character they read before. However, what you need to also consider is, let's say I'm reading for a little girl who wants to be a pirate, and then she meets a woman pirate. Well, the difference would be, one, I'm sounding like a little girl who might have a lisp, the way I do with the Invisi in the Invisalign. Maybe her teeth are crooked, so she may not be able to form words, the way an adult can. And then if she's talking to a woman pirate, well, the woman pirate, maybe she lost a few teeth. Maybe she's got one leg. So you have to kind of imagine, okay, to make this different, yes, I'll sound more like an adult when I'm talking to a child, but maybe I'm kind of leaning on my shoulder. Maybe my mouth is kind of crooked like this. I've lost all my teeth, and that adds to the character. So it's not so much changing the voice as it is you're adding what details come with the character. If you look at Mark Hamill when he does the Joker, there are videos on YouTube of him, and he kind of does this thing with his arms. He's just so mystique. He's using the body, and not many actors know to use the body as well as the voice. So it's more of like you need to learn those particular things to create multiple characters. But if you want to have different reads for commercial, well, there's the exciting, if you're excited about something, then you want to be energetic. You want to be energetic about it, but not so much that you're yelling like your announcement. You're just excited about a product, or maybe you're talking about something more sad. You want to convince people to donate to the ASPCA. I'm an animal lover, so I might
Same
be a
here.
bit more soft about it. Animals need your help. It's about understanding what the script needs and what the audience needs to hear, both as whatever genre that you're pursuing and the characters you're creating.
Mary, when you're doing a character or even a commercial, are you able to ad-lib in certain situations?
Only if the client gives me permission. And so you always have to ask permission.
Okay.
There are some rules that are okay to break, like subtleties. For example, I may ask my one of my agents, hey, I really like this character, but I kind of see maybe adding like some sighs, or maybe clearing my throat, or maybe I might add a breath, or something like, there may be a line that, is someone who's sad, I can't do this anymore. So I might add little subtlety things like I I can't do this anymore. But you don't want to change the script, because the script is not yours to change. However, like I said, if the audition comes in and they say you're allowed to ad lib, you're allowed to add a little to the character, just, because maybe the client doesn't know what they're looking for yet. And they're open to hearing little changes, not just rewrite the whole script.
Mary, being a voiceover artist and obviously an accomplished singer too, do you have an agent? And if so, how important is it to find the right agent?
I have 3 agents, actually 4 agents right now. Um, in voiceover, you don't necessarily have to have an agent, but the reason why it's encouraged, in my opinion, I encourage it because the world of AI is growing rapid, and a lot of people don't understand how important it is to protect their voice legally. And if you book something on your own, you never know if a client might take advantage of you by making you sign a contract that says, hey, I'm going to use your voice forever, and you don't get to have a dime of whatever I make off your voice. Or there may be something in a clause that says, I have the right to clone your voice, and I have the right to sell your voice to someone else. This happened to a friend of mine who did a work for a client in China. That client, I don't know the whole story, but somehow her voice ended up on TikTok, and she did not consent to that. And it did a lot of damage to her career. And she had to get a lawyer. She had to get all this straightened out. There were articles about it. And the thing is, that was not something she got through an agent. It's something she got on her own. And I'm not saying she did anything wrong. She did nothing wrong whatsoever. But I will always approach one of my agents with something I'm not comfortable with, saying, hey, can you look at this? Because the paperwork can be very, overwhelming. So I might say, what do you think about this? Is it worth doing? And if they tell me, yes, it is, then I'll go through with it. If they say, I'm not sure about this, then I have to consider the fact that it may not be the right project for me, but somebody else will take it and sign their rights away and not realize it.
How competitive is the industry, and do you find voiceover work is diminishing because of AI technology?
Voiceover is monstrously competitive. It's not impossible because there's always going to be work. It but also depends on, again, your niche. The commercial world is probably the most competitive. Everybody needs to be able to do commercials. You hear commercials on the radio, you hear them on YouTube, you hear them on Amazon Prime now, you hear them um, on TV everywhere, no matter what. So, and commercials also pay the most money. So everybody wants to voice commercials. But if you have a niche that you specialize in, like for me, again, animation, games, dubbing, some of those pay great money, some of those may not pay as much. But whatever I specialize in, I'm always going to have competitors. And it may not come down to talent, it may come down to just someone you've worked with so much that they trust your process, or it may come as a fact that maybe the person has more experience voicing characters like this, that you maybe the client is used to hearing them voice characters that you are not used to voicing. You may be able to do it, but again, and also taking direction as well, because there are some actors that don't take direction very well. And they may not want to take direction, in fact. They may just say, "No, no, 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 let me do this my way. I know what I'm doing." Whereas I'm someone who craves direction. I want so much to please the client. Now with the world of AI, I would say it's hard to answer that because AI is getting better. However, when you listen to you can hear this on TikTok, you can hear it on YouTube. People have shows where they just like, hey, have this why do you think these celebrities are not being hired anymore? You can hear it. And there's nothing relatable to that. There's nothing to connect to. If you hear these lists of, this is why so and so doesn't get hired anymore. This is why this works and this doesn't work. Well, how does a computer voice understand how a human might interpret that? If I'm like something that some of my clients and colleagues are encouraging me to do, I love things that are strange and unusual. Like, you know, there are unique restaurants, there are unique sports, there are unique traditions in other countries. And people are telling me, you should create something with that because the way you talk about it, you just make it so interesting. You make it so relatable. And a computer voice can't do that. Not yet. But people are telling me to do that instead because the way I say it, the way I tell it, I make them want to learn more about it.
How important is connecting and networking in your industry?
It's excruciatingly important. A lot of the times it is going to be about who you know and who you get to know. Um, you know, part of why when it comes to workshops, sometimes I attend workshops for casting directors or talent agents. Not so much because I so badly want to work with them, but I want them to know who I am and I want them to see what I can do. And also, I want them to tell me what I need to work on because I'm never going to be perfect, never. And I admire so many people in this industry. Uh, a casting director I would so love to work with. She's retired, unfortunately, but it's Andrea Romano. I hope I'm saying her name right. But she did a lot of animation casting for amazing shows back in the 80s and 90s and around the early 2000s. And I so badly wanted to learn from her. Uh, Today, there are still fantastic casting directors I'd love to work with. And when you get to know some people first of all, they see your face. They know you're real. You're not just someone emailing them out of, out there, a very good friend of mine who's also a casting director said that somebody emailed her saying, "Hey, I want to take a class with you, a private class." And so they made a time that they set up a time and a place, and that person never showed up. And then days later, that person emailed them saying, "Hey, I had all this stuff I had to do. I'm ready to have a lesson with you now." And the casting director said, "No, you wasted my time. You just emailed me out of the blue. I took a chance on you, and I will not recommend you. I will not, let anyone know who you are because you can't be trusted. You have to build that trust. And to build that trust, you have to network."
Mary, for those people that are watching our show live stream this morning or later on audio, and they're looking to get into doing some voiceover work, like myself, I'm brand new to it. What advice would you give to the people like myself and others from your experiences?
So you definitely need to take some workshops, not
Okay.
just for the networking, but also to find out again what your niche is. You may find out, okay, you may find out you love cartoons. You want to be a cartoon voice actor, and that's great. And you probably have a place in that. However, you may find that your strength is in sports announcements. You may find your strength could be in audiobooks, or you may find your strength to be somewhere else that you didn't think would be anywhere around character voices. And don't ever look at that as a negative. Look at it as you have a place in this industry. I think a lot of people have a place in this industry, but it's not going to be always exactly where you want it. I wanted to be in film and TV. I wanted to be in theater, and I still do. But I allowed myself to be open to voiceover. And by opening myself to voiceover, I've opened many more opportunities that I would not have had access to. And again, I had to be open to it. So learning about what kind of reads, the genres that maybe you can do. Don't just take one workshop and think, okay, I'm ready to get an agent. Take a few of them. And then eventually you have to get a demo. And a demo will showcase what you can do with that genre. Now, here's where it gets tricky because each genre that you want to try and pursue, you have to have a demo for it. So there's a commercial demo, an animation demo, a video game demo, a toy demo, a singing demo, a medical narration demo, an audiobook demo. It goes on and on and on. And it does get pricey. This is not an industry to get into if you're not going to make investments. You have to make investments. Then you have to have a home studio. A home studio is required now. Before the pandemic, maybe not so much. But after the pandemic, it became a requirement. You don't have to have what I have. I have an actual sound booth. You can have a well-treated closet or a space that, again, lots of stuff to learn, lots of it. But learning is the first step. Learning about yourself, your voice, what you can do with your voice, and then investing in a demo. Whatever you do not get a demo made after 1 or 2 classes. You need to invest in maybe weeks worth. I would say maybe even a few months, because there are people out there who will say, "Hey, take a workshop with me. At the end, you'll get a demo." And that can be a very big mistake and very, very pricey mistake, because you'll have just been learning, but not learning long enough.
Mary, that is some really great advice. Have you thought about in the future into being a voiceover coach and a teacher as well, possibly?
You know, I've been asked that quite a few times, and I have been doing this for about 17 years. I have seen some people get in voiceover and they've done it for maybe 10 or 11 years and they become coaches. I saw one person even become a coach become a coach after doing this for only 5 years. I believe it's best. This is my personal opinion, but I believe it's best to consider maybe coaching after at least 20 years. The reason why is because, again, I'm not great at every genre, and I never will be. But I also am very hard on myself. I want to be sure I'm giving the right advice to somebody. I'm giving them the guidance they really need. And I don't want them to go through their career thinking, what I do wrong? Why isn't this working? Why am I not booking anything? Why this? Why that? Because I used to be in that place too. And sometimes there are no clear answers as to why it happens. And I don't want people to be disappointed in me. I don't want to disappoint anybody. So I kind of worry about the idea of coaching because I don't want people to come to me saying, "Why am I not doing this? Why is this not happening for me?" I don't have those answers. And I can give you advice, I can guide you, but I cannot make guarantees.
How important is feedback and also to have a strong mindset? Because sometimes you're not always going to get the answer you want.
It's beyond important. The mindset that many people have to have today is that you are going to get many, 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 many no's, but you're also going to get a few yeses. Now, when those yeses will come to you, nobody knows. They might be right away. They may be later. They may be years from now. And what you have to really understand is that sometimes also today, this is encouraged everywhere. Create your own content. Put yourself out there. And I will have to do it myself eventually. I am hard on myself. I am my own worst critic times 10. But a great story that really inspired me, and I hope it inspires other people. There's an amazing, amazing voiceover talent, and his name is Stefan Johnson or Stefan Johnson. I hope I'm saying his name right. But if you look him up on TikTok, he has a golden voice. And one of the things that he is known for, besides voiceover, is he loves food. He loves talking about food. I'm a foodie myself. So he just started posting videos about how maybe his favorite snacks, comparing McDonald's French fries to Arby's French fries, or uh, Lucky Charms compared to Twix, or not Twix, Trix. But I'm just kind of giving examples here. But the way he talked about food was so beautiful. It was almost like poetry. And well, he went viral, and he went on, I think it was Good Morning America or one of the big shows, but just he has this gorgeous, gorgeous voice, and he didn't expect to get noticed like this. He just wanted to talk about food, and now he's not only still doing his videos, he's got, big time agents, he's been part of, uh, major shows, he's also creating much more content related to food and any interest he has. But he just started with creating. He created content. And you can't expect to go viral, but you can put something out there and you never know who's going to see it.
Mary, that is great advice. And I'm still new to doing voiceovers. And I'll be honest with you, how I started doing voiceovers was by accident. And I did one on TikTok and I did one on Facebook and Instagram. And now I'm trying to go out. Like yesterday, I went out to an ice cream shop. I got their permission and I did a little video of their 24 brands of ice cream. And then I did a voiceover after, and they actually liked it. And to me, the social media internet is it has helped as well.
Yes, absolutely. I am not great at social media. I'm on Facebook, but I don't spend time on there. My last Facebook was hacked this past March, and I was quite traumatized by it because
It's
could
hard.
I could not get it back. And I'm very careful now about who I connect with, who I accept. I won't follow everybody back who follows me. Again, I have to be very careful. And on TikTok, I haven't posted much because again, I'm thinking nobody wants to see this face. Nobody wants to hear this voice. Again, I'm my own worst critic, but I know I have to get over that. And I have to just create, put things out there. I love animals, so I might, take some animal
See,
videos I find and just add funny voices to
yeah.
them. Much like Stefan, he loves food. I love food. I can put some things out there. I love to cook.
Yeah.
Show my cooking skills. But on social media, I'd say you don't need to be on every single site that's out there, but you do need to be on the sites that are the most, I guess, prolific in the industry you want to be in. So for me, that might be TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. If there are any others I don't know of yet, I don't know about Lemon 8. I've heard of
What about
many.
Blue Sky? Have you been on Blue Sky yet?
I am on Blue Sky, but I don't post much there because
Okay.
it's like Twitter. I was on Twitter for a while and then it got crazy and I left
Yeah.
Twitter. Um, but if I have things to share, like announcements, then I might put it on Blue Sky. But I don't have time to go post on every single site that's out there unless I have something to actually share. And when I start creating content, then I will have things to share. But I just don't have time to give everybody my opinion or to say, hey, this, hey, that. And plus, I've learned, unfortunately, that having an opinion or having a thought, a lot of people are not going to agree with you, and that's fine. But some of them take it way, way offensive.
Yeah.
And I have been blocked. I have been, people accusing me of being this or that. I'm on the autism spectrum and I will misunderstand things. And a lot of people don't want to hear, hey, I'm sorry if I said something or did something. I wasn't aware that it offended you. They don't want to hear that. So I have to be very careful about what I say or do because I don't want to offend anybody. But I won't be aware that what I say might offend somebody.
Mary, one of my friends, her name is Marlene Sharp. She's in the animation industry in Los Angeles, and
Mhm.
she works with autism
Yes,
or
I know who
Spec
she is.
Labs. Do you know who she is? She's
Yes,
been a
I do.
friend of mine she's been a friend of mine for 4 years now, and I've learned a lot from her and Spec Labs as well.
Yes, we keep in touch on LinkedIn. I have not met her in person yet. I dearly hope to. I do know about autism and entertainment. I haven't had a chance to be part of it yet. I really badly wanted to attend their first convention, but they kept it very small at the time, and I don't blame them one bit because I'm in Texas, and that was mainly kind of for the LA, California area. So I am a very big supporter of autism and entertainment, and I hope to participate with them at some point in the future if they ever need me or want me to work with them. I do know of Spectrum Labs as well. A long time ago, I was part of something similar here in Texas. I don't want to get too into it because they are not good people. But that's when I started kind of reaching out to other companies similar to them. Or at the time, I considered them similar. Spectrum Labs is 1,000 times better than what I was part of. And so I want to definitely keep in touch with them by all means.
Maybe, Mary, perhaps in the future, I can have you come on the Small Talk podcast with Marlene and myself as a guest.
I'd love that.
Yes, she's a really good person. I haven't met her in person yet, but we've been friends for 4 years, and we work well together on our shows. And I've learned a lot from her and Spec Labs, and I think what they're doing is great
Mhm.
with Spec laboratories, and hopefully they can eventually expand it internationally.
Yes, I would love to see that happen. Um, Again, I don't want get too into the company that I was with, but they are going downhill rapidly, and I don't want to say their name because it would come out as uh,
Yeah, no
yeah,
worries.
that. But admire so much what Spectrum Labs is doing for people on the spectrum, and I so very badly want to see more opportunities, not just for people on the spectrum, but people who have disabilities anywhere, everywhere, because there's a crazy amount of talent out there. And I kept secret about my being on the autism spectrum for many years because, again, I was judged left and right. I once told a volunteer group I was on the spectrum back in the early 2000s, and they rejected my my application to join them for like a mission in Africa to help out with animals because they thought, oh, if you're autistic, well, you should stay home. You need to be, around your surroundings, where it's safe. And I'm like, I have referrals. I have top referrals from places that I've been to, I've worked with. I, you know, if I didn't feel confident that I could do this, I wouldn't have applied. And they were like, "Well, we think this is better, but if you want to, donate to us, we're happy to accept your donation." And that hurt tremendously because all they wanted was money. They didn't care about I was going to have my time. I was willing to pay for my own flight, everything. And so I had to keep secret about my autism for a long time because I didn't want to be judged like that ever again. And then more and more people started saying, "Hey, I'm on the spectrum," and people in the entertainment industry said they were on the spectrum. Daryl Hannah and other people, and then suddenly it's like, okay, now we see people who are on the spectrum or people who have disabilities. Hey, they've got talent. They know what they're doing. And so then I was not afraid to say, "Hey, I was diagnosed as being on the spectrum when I was 18. There's nothing wrong with me. I just see things differently. I interpret things differently. And sometimes I don't pick up a joke right away. I don't pick up a conversation. I'm a listener. I'm not going to be talking a lot in a conversation. I'm going to come across as standoffish, but I don't mean to be. I'm just someone who listens and I'm someone who interprets differently."
Mary, have you thought in the future maybe of writing a book as well about your experiences?
Oh, that's a good question because I like to write about fiction, fantasy. I do write stories. Um, sorry, my hair is kind of falling over my face. Um, I have, when it comes to myself, I kind of worry about that because, again, my interpretation of how I see things, if I talk about something that happened in my past and it happened with somebody I grew up with or somebody I haven't seen in 30 years, and they read that book, they may say, "Wait a minute, that's a lie. That's not how it happened. They're gonna ruin my name." And, of course, I would never say names because that's wrong. You would make up names. But at the same time, in my mind, I'm gonna think, someone's gonna see something I wrote and take offense to it. Something is gonna come across as this or that or insulting, and I don't wanna come across as insulting. I've been hurt by a lot of people. I was bullied mercilessly as a kid, not just by other kids, but also by teachers, and I don't wanna go through all that pain all over again. I'm happy to talk about it, here and there, but to write it all down, to see it written, and to see it put out into the world, I just don't think I could do that.
By the way, I've been bullied myself back in school, but also I've been bullied in a workplace by supervisors and managers, and it's awful. And people think, oh, bullying only occurs when you're younger, but it
No.
occurs when you're an adult or you're in a position of authority or in a company. And I've actually done some shows on it, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Do you find bullying has increased with the internet and social media over the last
M
15 years?
Massively, massively. You know, I don't like to get too personal about my life, but, as a woman on the spectrum, I would not feel comfortable raising children right now because the internet is not something you can escape. Eventually, it's gonna be, taught. It's it it's gonna be you can't escape it, and that means people will take pictures of you. They'll take videos of you. They'll compare you, they'll judge you, they'll insult you, they'll spread rumors about you. They will threaten you with something. They will convince you to do something that you didn't understand was wrong, and they will use that as blackmail. I can't bear the thought of seeing a child go through that, and I can't protect them all the time from that.
Another subject that I could do a show on too is how much the internet and social media can affect your mental health as well.
Very much. Like I said, there are people in this industry that don't like me. I may have said something I didn't understand, may have come across as insulting. Uh, and sometimes I've tried to apologize. I've tried to send, private messages, saying, hey, if I did something, if I said something, it came across the wrong way. I didn't mean for it to come across that way. I tried to make peace with a few people like that, and they flat out refused. And I didn't know them very well, but I was trying to make peace. And so then I realized, oh, well, if they don't want anything to do with me, I should block them. That's so in my mind is that that's what they want. They want me to block them. But then they may say, "Oh, that's an insult. You blocked me. That was so mean." Well, in my mind, I'm thinking, "You want nothing to do with me. Isn't that what you want?"
I kind of can relate being in the radio media industry. I've had a lot of people like my work, but also a lot of people don't like my work, and I have to learn not to take it personally. Just use
Always.
yeah, any career you're in, you're gonna get people that say yes, but you're not gonna be everyone's cup of tea like you mentioned there, and you just have to move on. It's like with booking guests. A lot of times guests will come on, but there's times where they're not comfortable being on air, or
Mhm.
they're not a fan of my work, and I just have to learn not to take it personally.
Yes, and part of why I am doing this a lot more is I do want to step out of my comfort zone. In the entertainment industry, you have to step out of your comfort zone because if you are not willing to explore different areas, how can you grow? So, you know, I try to be careful with interviews because I don't want to reveal too much about my life. But there are some things I do want to reveal because, again, I know people on the spectrum might be listening and I want them to understand you are not alone. There are people like us, and there are going to be people who are not like us, but they may know someone who is like us, or they may f- want to understand more. And so I don't want to force any message across. I just want to say, this is what I've been through. If you're going through it as well, you are not alone.
And this is why I love doing this show, because it's storytelling, but it's a learning aspect. And my last career, I was in security for 23 and a half years. And at the end, it turned into a work divorce. Both sides wanted to move on. And that former career, I think, prepared me for this, because when I was much younger, I was shy. I hated public speaking. I was not comfortable in front of public. And now I've reinvented myself. And also, you mentioned a word, stepping out of your comfort zone. I did some camera work before I started doing the podcasting and the talk show, and I was doing hockey games, sporting events, obviously, and I was nervous as anything. But I started learning how to do camera work, and I started enjoying it, and
Mhm.
I've stepped out of my comfort zone.
Yes, a movie inspired me to learn how to cook. I was kind of afraid to even try cooking because, I don't like to waste food. If I make a mistake, I'm wasting food. Um, if I leave the oven on and I forget about it, I might start a fire. All these fears came, but then I forced myself to learn. I forced myself to get comfortable with it, and now I love to cook, and I love to see people enjoy the food I make. I also, am a video game person. I love to play video games, not just voice them, but I do play video games. A long time ago, a very, very, very good friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm, starting a blog, for video game, d people, and for, also girls who love video games." And she asked me to start helping her with the blog, and I'm like, "I've never written on a blog before. What do I know about that?" I jumped into it. She gave me a challenge, and I jumped into it, and then I started going to conventions like E3, which is not around anymore, but also the Game Developers Conference, which I absolutely love. I haven't been in a long time because I don't blog anymore. I don't have time for it. But again, I pushed myself to go to these places that I normally would have been terrified to go to. I jumped into something I'd never ever done, and it worked out. I got to interview people, meet people, try games before they were released. Um, I built a little small following with that, and then, of course, I put all my time and energy into voiceover. But again, I put myself out of my comfort zone, and opportunities, connections, all that opened up. So you've got to do it.
100%, Mary, and connections too. When I first started doing this, I thought nobody would come on my show, and it did take 5 months, and then I started getting guests come on, and then another guest and another guest, and every show I treat is like an audition for radio,
Mhm.
and I try to treat my guests like professional, and I want my guests to come on here and feel comfortable to share their stories and their careers with us, and I just love doing this. And since you mentioned food, and I'm a foodie as well, and I'm learning to take a cooking course myself once a month,
Mhm.
what are some of your favorite items to cook?
So I really love Indian food. There was a time I didn't. Again, I stepped out of my comfort zone when I least expected it. Butter chicken masala is something my husband and I are really big fans of. So if we don't go to a restaurant, I have kind of a recipe that I have from a book that I really enjoy. In fact, I'll give her some notice. I don't know her personally, but her blog is called Half Baked Harvest, and I adore her recipes. And she gives a lot of flavorful options. So butter chicken masala, I love the recipe that she created. My husband and I love to have that. Um, I'm not a red meat person, but my husband and I took a class this past year on making a New York strip steak, and the recipe they used really inspired me to cook more with it. So I do enjoy making New York strip steak and homemade gnocchi. I also love to bake. So a thing I'm really well known for outside of voiceover is for my macarons. I don't know if you know what they are, but they are French cookies that have these domes and these little kind of wrinkly feet surrounding,
Yes.
and they are notoriously difficult to make. But before the pandemic, I thought I need to challenge myself. Need to try something different. So I spent 4 months learning to make this cookie, and I finally found a technique and perfected it. I even went to farmers markets and sold it before the pandemic took over, and then I kinda had to close it down. So but many people know me for my macarons, and when I started showing people how I was able to make them on social media, they're like, "Hey, I wanna buy some. Hey, will you bring some to my event? Will you do this? Will you do this?" And so, I've gotten in the habit of making them again because, my husband and I have our first house, and I learned how to master the oven that came with it. So, macarons are also something I'm, really well known for.
Congratulations. Now I'm getting hungry for it. You said video games. What are some of your favorite video games to play these days? I know when I grew up in the 70s, it was Atari and then
Yeah.
Genesis and Nintendo.
Yes, my brother raised me with the original NES back in the '80s. Um, so, of course, it started with the Super Mario Brothers and then The Legend of Zelda. The Legend of Zelda stayed with me throughout my entire life, so I've played almost every game out there. I didn't afford every system, unfortunately. Uh, Today, the games I love to play the most are open world games. Again, having ADHD and all that, I love to explore. So I love maps that are very vast, and I love characters that can complete quests. I love to hoard whatever I find, treasures. The Witcher 3 for right now is at the very top of my list, because there are lots of maps, there are lots of quests. The music is divine, the soundtrack, uh, the artwork is gorgeous. I'm so excited for The Witcher 4. Um, I also love, The Elder Scrolls. Skyrim is still a favorite of mine. I'm anxious for the next game by all means. However, I also enjoy some Sims games like Stardew Valley, Dave the Diver. Um, and others similar to that. I still love to see the pixel games because I grew up with that, like countless millions. And sometimes I will also return to playing classics like my favorite Zelda game, Ocarina of Time. That's, I love Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but Ocarina of Time is my all-time favorite Zelda game, and I will still go back and play it even over 20 years after it came out.
I was just recently at an 80s and 90s car and culture show, and I got to see some old video games that I grew up playing in the 80s. Miss Pac-Man, Pac-Man, Galaga, Space Invaders, and all that. And when I was a kid, I just loved playing them, especially the Pac-Man game as well. It was huge back then.
Mm-hmm.
So before we wrap this up, Mary, do I have permission to play your demo reel from your YouTube channel?
Yeah. Is it the animation demo? There's many
Yes,
demos.
yes. It's the emanation demo, and it's from your YouTube channel.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Just let me know if you can hear the audio okay. And for everybody out there, if you'd like to subscribe, you can subscribe to Mary Morgan Actor on the YouTube channel, and I've already subscribed. So I'm just going to play it right now. Mary, just let me know if you can hear the audio okay.
Okay.
Oh, Coda, you saved me! Oh, it's you. Well, you can go ahead and put me down now.
Well, this is it. A lifetime of loneliness. Hey, what's this? Dating for Dummies. Never seen that one before. Virtually improve your dating skills. 9 out of 10 basement dwellers recommend. This is perfect!
Ed the Elf here with your North Pole holiday update. As Thanksgiving Day arrives, we are reminded that an elf's life is never easy.
Speak up! You say this is for your safety? Well, this is my boot, tough guy, and it will fit up your butt with the proper amount of force!
You hear that, Mordred? There's a wizard come to see us. Won't this be fun? That was rude, Mordred.
Okay, so this is our situation. We were out surfing this morning, and this big wave crashed on us, knocked our cocoa horns right out of our hands. And earthworms and onions and puppies and snowflakes and planets and tadpoles. Oh, God made lots of things.
Wow.
Pancakes and pancakes and pancakes and pancakes.
Oops, sorry.
And things and trees and birds and rocks and leaves and ants and stuff and trees and things.
Thank you, Mary. And thoughts on your animation demo reel? And did you make that on your own?
No, I had to have a producer help me put that together. I have a lot of clips now from various shows, and so I don't trust my skills. Again, I am my own worst critic, so I will often hire
Same here.
somebody to put it together because I want, again, I can't get perfection, but I want as close to it as possible.
For those people in voiceover artists, how often should they do a demo reel, in your opinion?
Well, there's a lot of kind of controversy around that because my animation demo is quite old, but I still book a lot of cartoons and projects with it. So I would say that, but at the same time, there are each time the industry, progresses, you might get told, okay, demos need to be shorter now. There was a time they could be 2 minutes. Then it was a minute and 30. Then it was a minute. And now it's maybe 30 or 40 seconds.
Wow.
But at the same time, I kind of keep a variety out there. And if a client says, I want to hear a clip, well, then I'll take a clip and I'll send it to them. If they want to hear the whole thing, I'll send them the whole thing. And if I go on a site like YouTube or someplace else where I can post my demos, then I might make shortened versions of it. But you don't know what people want until they tell you what they want. I had a client tell me, okay, we'll hear, 30 seconds of a demo. We don't want to hear more than that. Well, I had to take my commercial demo and just kind of cut up some of the pieces myself, and they were fine with it. But the point being that when you make a demo, you want to make it with someone who knows what they're doing. It's okay to cut it up if you understand how to do that yourself. But I don't think you need to get a new demo every 2 or 3 years unless you are not progressing in an area you want to progress in. So, for example, I don't do many commercials. I want to showcase I can do commercials by getting a demo maybe every 3 or 4 years. I have been doing animation since I started voiceover. I haven't had to really get a new demo with animation because I've done more than enough that I can just take clips from any shows I've done and put them together, or have someone put it together for me instead of getting a whole new demo done.
Before we wrap this show up, Mary, what has been your most memorable character that you've done so far, and also about your singing too? Do you have any more plans to continue your singing career as well? And I see that you can incorporate your singing with your characters too.
Yes. So there are so many characters I have loved to do. And in fact, the way it kind of works is that when you say character, it could be, was it from an anime? Was it from a cartoon? Was it from a video game? So for example, for an anime, probably one of my favorite characters I did was a character in One Piece. And the character was a little boy that had an evil seahorse that sucked out people's memories. And I believe it was the Dream arc, if anyone is familiar with the One Piece series. The character's name was Drim in the English version, and I loved voicing that character. It was so unique. But in the world of animation, I would probably have to say that one's hard because I keep voicing new things, and I'll develop a love for it, and then it kind of moves on to something else. But probably Bolopolis, my first cartoon, is the most memorable for that. In the world of video games, uh, it was my work on Diablo 4, because my brother, again, he raised me with video games, and he introduced me to Diablo 2 when I was in my 20s. And that was the first time I ever heard voices in a video game before, and I became obsessed with that franchise. I have played that game literally, maybe I lost count at 50. I played it over and over again. It's an amazing game. And as the more games came out, I kept thinking, I want to be in that series. I want to be part of Diablo. And 2 years ago, that dream came true, and I got to be a character. Not a big character, but for me, it's a big character because it's part of the Diablo franchise. So I get to say, after all these years, after all these, after dreaming and praying, and my voice is part of the Diablo franchise.
What's 3 words to describe Mary Morgan?
Oh, I forgot to say about the singing.
Oh
Sorry
yeah,
about that. Yeah, I do plan to do more singing. Singing is something I'm a lot more harder on myself with singing because I hear a lot of auto-tune when I listen to songs, and I don't wanna be someone who has to rely on auto-tune. So my family, in fact, is pushing me to pursue more singing, but I keep hearing myself, and I keep thinking I sound awful. I sound like I need auto-tune. I sound like I need this. And people tell me, "No, I don't." It's something I have to fight to get over, the critic demons in my head telling me I sound terrible. I do plan to do more of it though, because I sometimes need to be pushed, and I know I can do it. I just need to have confidence, and that will include my natural voice and also for the character voices I do that require singing. So, next question.
do you have a favorite artist, and there's a particular song that you like to sing from that artist?
I really love Sarah Brightman. I have loved her for a very long time, not just from her singing in Phantom of the Opera, but her recording artist career, because she's a multi-genrelist. And I love artists that can do more than one kind of genre, go from classical to pop to jazz to maybe a little bit of heavy metal, because even I myself listen to some heavy metal. A song that she sang on her album that's called La Luna. It's a song that stayed with me forever, and one day I hope to cover it myself. It's called Winter in July. She didn't write the song, she covered it from another artist, but the lyrics really speak to me, and if you ever listen to it, you'll understand why.
And I have a guest coming on tomorrow from Quebec who's a new singer as well. And music, to a lot of musicians that I've had on here, they find music is like therapy to them as well.
Mhm. Yes. For me, it's more than therapy. It's also storytelling. I call myself a storyteller. Um, it's also learning about yourself. And again, Winter of July, I don't know the reason why it was written, but when you hear the song, when you hear the lyrics, it might open something to you. And sometimes songs open something in you that you didn't know was there.
Mary, what's 3 words to describe yourself?
Quirky, creative, adventurous.
Perfect. Perfect. And I want to say, before we wrap this up, Mary, I want to say thank you so much for coming on here. And do you have a bucket list that you'd like to accomplish as a singer and a voiceover artist in the future? I had to ask.
Yeah, I have a ton. As a voice actor, I would love to be. I would love to work for major companies like Disney or DreamWorks or Nickelodeon. As a singer, I would love to record songs and release them out there, and not just to gain an audience, but to also gain some income. I don't expect to be someone, touring the world. Someone that I would see myself being like is Enya. Enya, she doesn't tour. She creates, and when she travels for leisure. Now, if I was ever invited to tour, I would take it, but again, I don't see it. I just wanna create, and I wanna make a nice living with it. Um, and then very important for me is the writing in my life. I want to see my stories published. I want to see people enjoying them, and I want to see them maybe even adapted into film, TV, or cartoons.
If you were ever offered an opportunity to go on The Simpsons as a character, would you do it?
In a heartbeat.
What makes The Simpsons so special after almost 40 years being on TV?
It's consistent, I think. You know, part of what, I do as a voice actor is I voice a lot of little kids. The woman that voices Bart, Bart's a little boy, but if you had a little boy voice Bart, his voice would mature after 2 or 3 years. He wouldn't be able to voice that character anymore, and they would have to find someone to replace him, and it would not be the same. Even if they found the perfect sound alike, the way that character was created would not be the same. They had to replace Millhouse. They had to also replace some of the other characters to cast authentic actors to go with them, which I understand and I respect. But it changes. The there are people out there who can hear very, very subtle changes in that performance. And I think people with a show like The Simpsons, you cannot find someone who can do Homer Simpson the way that Dan Castellaneta can do. You cannot find someone who can voice Marge. I I feel bad. I can't remember the actress, or Yeardley Smith.
Marsha Wallace, I think.
Yes.
Marsha.
No. Marshall Wallace was Miss Krabappel.
Okay.
Yeah, or Yeardley Smith. No one can be Lisa like Yeardley Smith. So I think what made that show last as long as it did was how consistent it was with the main characters.
Finally, Mary, this is a new segment I do on my show as we wrap it up. It's called Ask the Host CDP, a question segment. Do you have a question for the host before we wrap things up?
What are your goals?
My goals are to either get back onto radio in studio or doing it remotely like I was doing it for 2 years, or to keep getting more advertisement and sponsorships for my show and to continue to grow my brand. I love what I'm doing. I'm storytelling, I'm learning, and I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, and I'm meeting people from around the world. I've had people guests on my show from 8 different countries around the world, and I just love what I'm doing, and I want to prove to people that age is just a number because I'm 53, and 2, I'm not just a sports guy. I can interview almost everybody, and that's what I'm trying to do. I don't want people to stereotype me into being Mr. Sports. I love sports, but I just want to prove to people age and I can be multi diverse and facet in this industry.
That's beautiful.
Mary, finally, where can our audience follow you on social media and the best way of contacting you? And maybe are you able to tell us about some of your upcoming projects?
Well, I will say this, you're welcome to follow me on TikTok, Instagram. When it comes to LinkedIn, I like to keep primarily for business.
Okay.
So if I don't know you that well, if you don't work in film, TV, I had one guy who I don't remember his name, but he didn't work in the industry. He had some connections that we shared, but I just thought, well, we may have connections in common, but what do we have in common with the business? So I didn't reply, and I was not trying to be rude. It's just that I keep LinkedIn for business. Now, if you follow me with Instagram or TikTok, I appreciate it. I do not guarantee that I will follow you back because I need to know you. I need to know the kind of person you are, the content that you post, because I have followed people in the past who went on to post derogatory pictures and things. Then I don't always check social media also. So now when it comes to contacting me, I am okay with you emailing asking about voiceover, but again, I do not make guarantees. I will not give referrals to agents or to clients. Some people ask me right away, hey, can you get me a job with this company, or can you ask your agent to take me on as a talent? And that's not how it works. It, you know, the business is about trust. I welcome questions, but if I don't get back to you, it's either because number 1, I'm excruciatingly busy, or number 2, I may not be comfortable doing so just yet because maybe you didn't give me enough information. Something I really, really do not like on social media is when someone messages me on TikTok or Instagram and says, hi, or how are you, or you look nice, or you're this or that. So first of all, I'm very happily married. Number 2, if you don't tell me exactly what you want, I will not answer.
Mary, I want to say thank you for giving me an opportunity on LinkedIn, and I'm glad you felt comfortable enough to come on my work. And I've really worked hard in building my my body of my work and my rapport with my guests. And I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity. And I've learned a lot today speaking to you. And you have an open invite in the future to come back on the show again as well if you're interested.
Thank you. Also, for new projects in voiceover, I can't always share what I'm working
Okay.
on because you sign a non-disclosure agreement, and I never break them. The only time I can share I've done something is when I post it again on Instagram, TikTok, maybe Blue Sky or LinkedIn. That's the best time I can share something I've been part of, because the worst thing, again, trust in this business is so important. And I've seen it so many times, back when there was years ago before Crunchyroll became what it is now. That's the anime company that distributes anime here in the States. It was known as Funimation. And I got to know a bunch of new actors who would come in and they would record on shows. As soon as they finished, they went on Twitter or anywhere else and said, "Hey, I'm in this. Hey, I got to do this today." They were breaking non-disclosure agreements. And I would have to tell some of them, "Hey, you can't do this. You're gonna get in so much trouble. You could be, uh,
Sued
well,
or
not
fired.
sued, but just blackballed, blacklisted,
Oh,
It
okay.
has happened. So, and some would listen and some would not listen. And again, trust. You have to be someone who's worthy of trust.
Absolutely, and I try to do that with my guests. I want them to check out my work and give me an opportunity. And like you said, I don't take things personally. I've had people tell me no, and then within 3 months later, they've seen my work and they've reapproached me. And it meant a lot to me, Mary, that you gave me this opportunity to have you on my show. And
Mhm.
and my show is becoming more and more diverse, and I love talking to people from around the world. And I just want to say thank you, and also continued success in your career. And we'll definitely keep in touch. And
Mhm.
give me a little time this afternoon. I've got 2 more shows coming up. I will send you the video, the audio, and I will break this into some reels and clips later tonight as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mary. Have a great afternoon, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Take care.
You too. All right, everyone. That wraps up season 11, episode 27, overall 577 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership here in Guelph. And I want to say thank you to my guest, Mary Morgan, a voiceover talent and also an accomplished singer, for coming on here today as well. And before we wrap this show up, guys, the next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCullen.com, is going to be today, Thursday, August 22nd at 2 p.m. Eastern, with my special guest. He's a friend of the show, Sean Beligent from Woodward Sports. He's on the morning show with Maz from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and he's a host of his own podcast show, Off the Air Podcast. So check out Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show at 2 o'clock today with Sean Beligent. We're going to talk a little bit about the Detroit Tigers, the retirement number 91 for Sergei Fedorov of the Detroit Red Wings, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Sean joining Woodward Sports in Detroit as well. Again, I want to say thank you so much to Mary Morgan for coming on here today, and I want to say thank you to my sponsor, Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall, and appreciate everyone watching this on live stream and on my audio platforms, and we'll see you guys back here at 2 o'clock today with Sean Beligent talking Tigers baseball. Thank you so much, and we'll see you in an hour.